Right guys, how are things? Ryan Bailey here, bringing you episode number 13 of the Ball Talk podcast. In today's podcast, I was joined by former Cork senior footballer Daniel Goulding. And in this podcast, we went through Daniel's career with Cork, winning the All-Ireland, the future of football and the future of Cork football as well. And we went through his My 15 selection too, which will be at the end of the podcast. Before we go any further, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, the same as every Friday as well, Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. You can find them on Instagram at adapt_sligo, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click the link in the description of the video. Go over there, give them a follow, give the Ball Talk page a follow as well to get any updates of when podcasts are coming out. So yeah, that's the intro done, and I hope you enjoy the podcast.
What are we keeping?
Daniel, how's things?
Good by yourself?
I'm good. All is well.
All is good, can't complain.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
No problem at all.
Good stuff. We're rolling from the off now. So yeah.
Ideal, yeah. Ideal.
Well done. How's life treating you? You're with the country's opening back up again, news.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Suppose I was working from home all along, so I had some bit of structure, and I have a baby girl now. She's nearly 2 as well, so I'm kept busy.
Yeah, you're kept on your toes.
Kept on your toes, yeah, and then do a bit of training then on my own, and we're back together now in groups of 6 or 7, so we're not too bad.
Good stuff. I didn't actually hear the announcement myself this evening. There was an announcement supposedly the football's coming back a bit sooner than we thought.
I didn't actually hear anything.
Yeah, supposedly it was supposed to be the 20th of July, but they're on about bringing it forward to the 29th of June. So
okay,
could be back on the field quicker.
Yeah, great.
So I suppose, Daniel, we'll just start off with the return to football, seeing as it's happening right now. There's a lot of people with mixed opinions on going back. I know there's a lot of clubs that are leaving it up to the players if they want to go back, if they feel comfortable going back. What's your stance personally on it? Do you feel comfortable going back into close contact?
Yeah, it's a funny one. I was kind of off the ball a couple of weeks ago, and I was thinking the cases were still high enough, and I was thinking there's no way with social distancing in place that we can go back playing. But there must be a certain degree of confidence within the government, especially that the cases are very low and almost gone from the community.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the J being left to it otherwise. But yeah, I don't know, when social distancing is still in place, it's a funny one that you'll be allowed to go to training on Monday week and have contact. Like you can't fault any person who doesn't want to go back training. I suppose it's down to everyone's own personal decision.
Sure, we even see it in the Premier League back now, and I think over in England we've seen it on the news or whatnot that England were a bit behind us in the way they were approaching things, but now they've got the football back, and there's even players over there that are saying that they're not going back yet. I think it was Troy Deeney, the Watford player. He said that he wasn't going back. So I suppose it's up to everybody what they want to do.
Yeah, it is, and of course everyone has different circumstances. There's some people live with their parents maybe who are elderly, or some people have families with underlying conditions. It's going to be a very personal choice for everyone. But it'll be interesting to see now will the government relax the social distancing before we go back playing actual games. It'll be, I suppose, because there's no social distancing in the game, so it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of weeks.
And what's the crackdown there in Cork? Is there a structure put in for the championship, or?
No, not yet. There was communications last week saying that they were reviewing it and they're waiting on county fixtures to come out first, and also they want to keep the structure that they proposed at the start of the year. So that was 12 teams in every grade and 3 groups of 4.
Okay.
But to me, that seems very tight to be running off in 11 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see will they change.
Yeah, I know that they're doing something similar in Sligo. They're trying to keep with the plan that they had in place, but at the same time, they're giving alternatives as well. I suppose it's hard to know what to do really, because you want to have as little games as possible, but give everyone a chance and get back into the swing of playing and stuff.
Yeah, I think no matter what happens, you're not going to please everyone. It's going to be more difficult for dual clubs if you're playing hurling one week, football then the next week. And then if they go in blocks, if you put hurling or football first on its own, the inter-county teams are going to suffer. One of them are going to suffer. So
Exactly. Yeah.
hard decisions to be made for all the county boards.
Listen, Daniel, we'll go to your career with Cork. So you had a just over 10-year career with Cork, am I right?
Yeah, I was with the seniors for nearly 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose the big win there was in 2010. We were only talking about this there a few weeks ago. Myself and one of the lads he plays with Gable Rangers. I know is that fair from you or not, but
about an hour drive, I'd say nearly.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it just shows how big Cork is. But,
absolutely.
We were talking about that year in 2010. It's probably a neutral's dream. Like there was no big dominance in any province or whatever. If you yourself what I mean. And Cork obviously winning the All Ireland. Talk us through that year, like your approach to it. You were just, I suppose, before Dublin came into their own and being the dominant team that they have been.
Yeah, it was a crazy year, really. I suppose we lost to Kerry after a replay in the first round in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. We went to Páirc Uí Chaoimh then extra time and lost. And then into the full backdoor system. So we 3 backdoor games before we got to a quarter final. Could have been beaten by Wexford in Wexford Park. Limerick took us extra time. And I suppose we'd actually played much better football in 2009. We were really firing all cylinders in 2009, and I suppose the Dublin game probably we kind of ghosted our way into semi-final. The Dublin game kind of really changed our season, and I think we're 3-4 points down with a couple of minutes left, and Colm O'Neill came on and won a couple of great frees, and Dunick started them over and then got the penalty and probably gave us that confidence to go into the final and push on and win it. Watching the final, we actually didn't even play that well. We upped it an awful lot for the last 20-25 minutes, and that probably got us over the line. But the first half was full of probably poor play and nerves, combination of both. And we were lucky to only go in maybe 3 points down against Down at half time in the final.
Yeah, and like even with Down as well, it was, as I said, a neutral's dream. You've got 2 teams, as he said, coming in the back door. And I know Down came in the back door as well because we went up. They kicked 50 Shades of nothing out of Sligo that day above Glencavan. So it's actually hard when you look back and it's 10 years ago. It seems like only yesterday, but it's still 10 years ago all the same. It's hard to see something like that happen again. 2 teams going through the back door and winning All Ireland. Yeah,
I think it is. And I remember at the time there was a big euphoria about Down. They were playing super football. They'd never been beaten in an All Ireland final. They were the only team that could beat Kerry. All these things were thrown out, and it was fully deserved. They were in the final. I think Marty Clark, Benny Coulter, they had great players. And I suppose it just shows we went in as huge favourites in that final, but when it comes down to a final and the nerves come in and everything is on the line, they're so hard to win. And I suppose it just shows how incredible that Dublin team is at the moment, that they seem to find a way no matter. I was watching the 2017 game there. I was on the TG4 on Sunday, and like Mayo should have won that game, but just it's amazing that what happens in finals and how they always play out. There's always something big happens in them.
Yeah, and that rivalry you had with Kerry, it's something that probably in the last few years now, maybe there's games where Kerry might pull away in Munster finals or semi-finals. Going back to probably, especially around the time that she won the All Ireland, how intense was that rivalry, like on the field, like walking onto the field and being in the heat of battle as well?
Yeah, look, it was pretty intense. We played each other, I'd say 2 years, I'd say 8 and 9, we played each other six times in championship. We drew in both seasons, and we played each other in Croke Park as well. And I suppose they always had just that little bit over us in the big games. Couldn't win down in Clarny. Got, I think, 4 draws down there. Huge crowds every game. Huge buzz for the weeks leading into it. Got them to Croke Park as well. Lost a replay by a point. Lost an All-Ireland final by 2 or 3 points. Just they always seem to have that knack over us in the really killer games. But like as to be part of those games was incredible. They were just like every day there was someone else, big players standing up, and just the atmosphere there was amazing. And I suppose we hated losing to them and we loved beating them. And I suppose that'll never change. Like you see, in fairness to both teams, whenever we had the upper hand in them, we'd try and hammer it home, and they do the same to us. And unfortunately, with the last couple of years, they've probably done it more so to us.
And in that rivalry, there's a lot of rivalries in every sport. That some are kind of friendly enough rivalries, but some there's a bit of bitterness and there's bite in it. You could tell on the field there was a lot of, there were some heated moments in that in the Kerry Cork games. Was that something that carried off the field, or were you all sound with each other like good mates off the field as well after?
It's funny, like I wouldn't have talked to many of the Kerry lads through the years. And it wasn't out of bitterness or anything. It was just that we generally didn't have any interactions with each other.
Right.
Bar going to college with went to college with Brian Sheehan, Darren Sullivan, and Brendan Keeley, and they were play away great crack with them in dressing rooms and stuff. But kind of beyond that, there was no, for me personally, there was no real friendships. Maybe at the time it was because of we were playing each other so often, and you just wanted to keep to yourself. But I never really played out that way, because I know you'd hear of the old 90s team and they're great friends with some of the Kerry lads and some of the Mead lads.
Yeah.
But I suppose for me personally, it just never panned out that way for whatever reason. I wouldn't say it was because we had a crazy rivalry though.
You were saying there in college, of course, you won a Sigerson title with IT down Cork, if that's right. It's something that I've spoken about with a few of the lads that have been on the podcast who have either won Sigersons or got to Sigerson finals. How important is it? There's a lot of lads that go to college and they just say, we're playing all summer and then I want to give football a bit of a break. How important do you think it is for lads to play football in college?
God, I absolutely love that competition. I was lucky enough. I played 6 years of it. Got to 2 weekends, won one of them. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You got to play with, as I said, the Kerry lads. There was a couple of great lads from other Munster counties there. Playing against the cream of the crop. Tactics weren't, back in 2010 anyway, and all those kind of years, tactics weren't crazy. It was all about the football really, and just like really high quality teams. Like we beat DCU in the quarter final year. We won it in CIT after extra time, and they had a full inter-county team made up of players from all over the country, and the buzz to beat them was one of the best games I've ever been probably part of. The year we won it as well, we wouldn't have been that well known as a team. We were just all on the fringes of getting on into the various inter-county teams. So we all probably had a bit of a point to prove, and that definitely fed into the success we had that year.
Okay, and if I'm right in saying as well, that was the first Sigerson final that CIT had got to as well?
Yeah, it's the only one. Yeah, so we'd have we always get the UCC lads if we're ever slaggy them. They'd always have slagged us. We only had to win 3 games. We were hosting it, so we got a bye. We got into quarter final and then beat NUIG and DIT in the final, all in CIT. So it's probably the Sigerson you'll ever win, but just the crack after it, even the 2 or 3 days of celebrations were just unreal. Just great crack with fellas that you only know for a short period of time, and you kind of bond very quickly because that's the nature of the competition. You're only playing together for 3-4 months, and we had a great manager at the time as well. Keith Ricken was the Cork under 20 manager, was training us, and Tony Leahy, who would have coached me to an under-21 All-Ireland, was involved as well. So we had a great setup.
Good stuff. I know I'm kind of bouncing around different topics here and putting you on your toes a small bit, but just looking, and it's in your team selection there. We're going to do that in the second part of it in a few minutes' time. But there's a lot of guys, let's say from around that 2010 era, the likes of yourself, that would have 3-4 Munster titles, have a few national leagues as well. A few you got All-Stars too. And in the last few years, with I suppose the rise of Kerry again, and competing in All-Ireland finals and stuff, probably 2010 in All-Ireland this year now, you've got a lot of promise in Cork. You've got the minor win last year and the under-20s as well. Do you see between that minor group, the under-20 group, and the lads that are there already, do you see a team in a few years' time that can challenge Dublin if Dublin are still at the level there now?
I think you'd definitely be hoping so. I think there's a lot of talent within the county, and the right structures have been put in place for the last couple of years of minor and under 20, and you can see they're really benefiting. Like I suppose what struck me out of the minor and 20 team that won last year was their athleticism, number one, but they were really good footballers. They had all great football ability, and I think if you can get 3 or 4 of them from both teams to come through into the senior setup, and then you have the likes of Ian Maguire and Mark Collins and those fellas kind of setting the right culture in there, I think they have an opportunity to kind of really get back into All Ireland Super 8s and challenge for All Ireland in a couple of years' time. I think they gave a glimpse of what they can do. Sorry, I'm just putting my phone on silent. They gave a glimpse of what they could do last year. But like I suppose the key for that now is to build on it, and they'd started in the right way. They were coasting to promotion in Division 3, and I think like the culture had probably been a bit off there with the last couple of years, and I think it's really back kind of a strong culture in the dressing room now, full of there's leaders coming there, Rory Dean, obviously Ian Maguire, Mark Collins, all these lads, and you're getting Kieran Sheehan back into the mix, who'd have a wealth of experience from Australia as well. And they can all be very positive influences on the young lads coming in. And like I think it is promising, and I like what Ronan has achieved this year, I suppose, and hopefully will do in the championship. I think like if they can keep it going, that it won't be long before they're at least back in Super 8 consistently.
Definitely, and like even watching the minors and the under 20s, whether it be Munster finals or All Ireland finals or whatever this year, they do play an attractive style of football. It's just very easy watched, because I know there's a lot of people that aren't gone on the way football is going at the moment, and there's they reckon it's not as exciting as it once was, but they were great teams to watch this year.
Absolutely, I was at the 2 All Ireland finals last year, and the minors were incredible. Never gave up. We're down a goal with time up. Game gone. Got a savage goal. Worked it. Then, like I was at the game in Portlaoise against Dublin, and we were saying after Corvin, oh my God, this is going to be the worst ever. And like they just stuck to their plan, and the football they played to get back into that game was incredible. And you have an array of forwards that can score from anywhere, and like if you can keep harnessing those lads, like Solomani and Cronin, like if you can keep them kind of committed to the cause, and I suppose ensure that everyone inside in that setup wants to play for Cork first and foremost, and has no distractions, then there has to be a bright future there.
Definitely. Before we go on to the team, Daniel, I've got a few, I suppose, quick fire sort of questions that I ask everyone. So just the first one here would be, apart from home venues in Cork and Croke Park as well, where would be your favourite venue to go play an inter-county game?
That's a good question now. I actually I loved going to Clarny. No, we never got a result there, but the pitch is immaculate always, and the atmosphere is crazy there. And it's usually a warm, sunny day in the middle of summer. Playing in Clarny was a bit special.
Spot on. Next question there, favourite boots?
You judge from the t-shirt anyway. I'm a Predator man, so all Predators for me. I'd say about 20 or 30 pairs from down through the years. So yeah, big Predator man. Yeah,
I only ordered a pair there the day myself. I think they might be a bit knockoff now, but there's they're hard got these days. The good Predators, the Manias, and boots like that.
Yeah, sure. Being at home at the moment, it's a disaster. There's deliveries in every second day between runners and boots. It's me.
Yeah, exactly. The next question there, I suppose the All Ireland has to be up there definitely as the sporting highlight for you. But if you had to pick, apart from the All Ireland, what has been your highlight in your career?
I think we won the Premier Intermediate Championship at home last year, so we went up senior for the first time. And when I started with my club, Air Oak, we were only junior, and we hadn't won a game in probably 10 or 15 years. So we've made the jump from junior to senior. So I suppose that final last year was probably extra special, and even the buzz around the parish and the few days after celebrating were top class.
Just to go through that structure, so I like not everyone up this side of the country would know the way you work it. So you got senior, and then is the next one down Premier Intermediate?
That was the case till, so they've just changed it this year. So now you have senior A, intermediate, or senior Premier, senior A, intermediate Premier, intermediate A, and junior.
Right.
So there's 5 grades now. So they essentially they split the senior into 2 because there was too many teams in it.
Okay, I see. Right.
Yeah. So unfortunate for us, probably in one way, that if we'd won it the year before, we'd be straight out senior. We'd be playing senior with every team, but we're into senior B this year.
And do they
senior A they call it.
Does the senior A cross over into the top senior, or is it just
no? So they're after seeding it. So the top 12 teams from the last 5 years, they did a kind of a point system. So It's all seeded at the top 12 teams are in the senior Premier, and then the next 12 are in the senior A.
Okay. The
Too
next
many clubs, that's the problem.
Yeah. How many does it? I remember seeing at the time. It was the time that JP McManus pumped a lot of money into the club scene, and there was, I can't remember how much he gave to every county, but I think we have 25 clubs in Sligo, and then whatever money was shared out, it was a lot more than each club got down in Cork anyways.
It's always a quiz question. I can't even remember now. It's 270 something as far as I know. It's crazy.
Daft.
Yeah, between different June. Yeah, it's mental.
The next question there, the biggest messer that you've ever come across on a panel?
Donnacha O'Connor probably. Just always messing, really, always getting caught as well. He's not very good at it, but he's great crack, always has been, and has provided many a laugh. Nolly Lair would be up there as well with him, to be honest.
And would there be more pranksters or pulling the piss out of the lads, or?
Nolly one day brought a mouse into the dressing room, threw it into Donnacha's bag, and sure, we were all up and running. We were all up in jumping up on top of the benches, mouse running around the dressing room, that kind of stuff. Generally just good crack, very positive people, good lads to be around with, and always up for a laugh.
Yeah. There was a good camaraderie, I'd imagine, in that group of lads that probably played from early 2000s to maybe 2014, 2015.
Yeah, there was, in fairness, because I suppose we were lucky enough. I came up through minor in 21 with Shieldsy and Paul Kerrigan, Fintan Gould, Pat Kelly, all those lads. So we all knew each other for 5 or 6 years before we came into the senior, and then you got to play with the likes of Graham, Canty and Corky, Kassan, Miskela, all these, Nicholas Murphy. They were all super players with unbelievable attitudes, and they had a real burning fire to win in All Ireland, because they had some very bad years, and I suppose it was kind of a blend of I wouldn't say the older lads, but the experienced lads and the younger lads coming in, and you know what, it really hit off, and it was one of the best groups I was ever involved in.
Sounds good. I have 2 more questions for you now. The first one is, if you could make one rule change in the GA, what would it be? And I suppose you can change any rules that are going to be in it this year as well.
I think one I'd like to see, just to pull out the blanket, is shooting from range. I think maybe if you got 2 points for a score outside a certain zone, maybe like the 3-point zone in basketball, something to pull out the blanket defences a bit, and also promote kind of good scores.
Distance shooting and stuff like that.
Distance shooting, yeah, sorry.
And the last question before we move on to your team, if there was one player that you wish you could have played with from another county in your career, who would it be?
Probably Michael Murphy, I'd say. I just think he's incredible, to be honest. He just gets on with his job always, and always seems to deliver on the big stage. He's been not carrying Donegal, that's wrong, but started off with Donegal as an 18-year-old, and probably was one of the main reasons they won their All Ireland, and is why they're so good now. I think there was one year with Glen Swilly. He he sponsored the competition, sponsored the man of the match, won the man of the match in the final, and I think they were like 4 or 5 to an outsiders. Like he can do it all, and he can play anywhere as well.
An unbelievable footballer.
Yeah.
I suppose now, Daniel, we'll move on to your team selection there. So for anyone that hasn't heard or seen the podcast so far, I've asked a few footballers over the last month or so to pick a team of players, the best 15 that they've played with, and the team has to include themselves in it as well. Now, some players have taken a bit of an exception. I know Barry John Keane there a few weeks ago, he stuck himself at the bench, but the main thing is you have to try and put yourself into it somewhere.
Yeah, I'd have been lucky to make it myself, but I suppose you told me to throw myself in there, so I did.
Yeah, Gary Slice was the same way of thinking. He said he would have taken himself out, but sure, we'll go with it for now. Anyways, there's been some good teams so far. I've had Matty Donnelly on, and Mandy's pulled us a good team. Barry John Keane, Joe Sheridan. There's been some good teams now, so I just look at the one you've named here, and yours will definitely be up there as well. So if you want to start off there, Daniel, with where you put yourself in the team.
Yeah, well, I put myself in the only place I've probably played with Cork, so I put myself at 13, corner forward. So that was the start off. Would have been in and out of the team over the years with Colm O'Neill as well. So I put Colm at 14.
Spot on.
So
we'll go back to the goals. Number 1 spot there.
Yeah, Alan Cork I went with there from Cork, so there'll be a common thread of Cork lads running through this team, a couple, so yeah, super keeper. Really felt for him in 2007 when we conceded 3 goals in the All-Ireland final, but like just the character of the man he is, the way he bounced back, I don't think he made a mistake. After that game, even though he didn't make too many mistakes that game, it was just 2 of the goals were a freak of nature, to be honest. They'd never happen again. And I think never put a foot wrong after that and just showed what a leader he is.
Exactly. And he had probably a 14, 15 year career probably with Cork. And you'd see some teams, I know like Galway, especially in the last few years, you might have a rotation of goalkeepers and that. How important is it to have the same keeper, or even it could be any position on the field, but the voice of the goalkeeper, like Cluxton has been for Dublin? How important is to have that player in that position for that long?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about your goalkeeper is he has to be a calming influence, because I suppose he's as much impact on the game as any player does. He's probably touching the ball more than anyone with the kickouts, and how important they are for setting up your attacks. And I suppose we were lucky with Alan and Paddy O'Shea, who deputised for Alan and Ken O'Halloran. They were all very solid lads, and they all bought into the game plan and had their kickouts down to a T. And I suppose Corky just had that bit of maturity and confidence about him all the time, and I suppose he reassured all the backs around him.
Spot on. We'll go on to your full back line there, Daniel, then.
Yeah, I went to Anthony Lynch from Cork. Was unlucky not to be on the team in 2010. Just injuries kind of caught him in 2010. Super defender. Just really prided himself in defending and was really good on the ball too, and hated marking in training. Michael Shields then was full back. Played with him since I was under 16. Kind of a really, really good footballer, an underrated footballer. He was on the ball, but like an absolute dog of a defender. He just never got the better of him. And I'd say any forward that marked him really earned their scores. The last man I went for then was Johnny McCarthy from Limerick. Would have played with him in the Railway Cup and played against him. Obviously against Limerick at under 21 and senior level. Another really, really tough defender. Really tight, really fast. Kind of looked like a big, strong man, but was really agile and could never get anything easy off him.
And you're actually the second man to put him into a team as well. Joe Sheridan had him in there a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he's a serious underrated operator, and he'd have walked on any intercounty team, I think.
We'll go on to the half back line then, Daniel.
Yeah, so I suppose I went with Noel Leary, Graham Canty and Paddy Cassan. I suppose I qualified that you could throw John Miskela in there as well in place of any of them really. Graham, I suppose you couldn't. Graham wouldn't let you take him over the team anyway. But yeah, like they were the driving force behind our Cork team. They were phenomenal athletes, phenomenal leaders, phenomenal footballers. Just great lads and great attitude for them. I suppose Graham was our captain for years and was an unbelievable captain. Just kind of thought about everything. Never did anything to upset the balance of the team. Let fellas take the reins on different aspects of it. Fellas need to be pulling line. He'd really just super captain, obviously an amazing footballer. I think the biggest thing I always think about Graham is he went down to Australia a couple of times and sorted that out. And like when you think of all the Australian rules lads that couldn't sort him, yet Graham could do it. Like, and phenomenal player. And then the other three lads were just, I suppose, obviously Nolly. There's the bit of euphoria around Nolly and the crack with Galvin, but like super defender. And even 2010 in the All Ireland final, like he totally shut down Marty Clark, like kept him scoreless, I think, and Paddy in and Miss Clever, just great attacking players and all kind of ultimate professionals and probably ahead of their time for the way they trained.
Spot on. I suppose we'll just keep it rolling. We'll go on to midfield then. Yeah,
so Nicholas Murphy from Cork as well would have been of the lads' vintage, would have been around the same era as Graham and Nolly, super footballer, unbelievable in the air. Had crazy battles with Darragh O'Shea always, and again another fella that was probably 27 or 8 and won nothing, and came out with probably 3 or 4 national leagues in All Ireland and a load of Munsters, and also a really good footballer. Was very dangerous at full forward as well when he was in there. Another kind of great pro. Then obviously my other midfielder was Michael Murphy. I've talked about him already. Probably don't need to go into it again, but played with him in the international rules in 2010, and I just remember thinking, look at him, he came on. He wasn't getting his game in either game, but he came on the second game and he nearly beat Australia on his own. He was incredible. I was just thinking, this fella's different gravy.
And just going on to that international rules, how did you enjoy that yourself, the changeover?
I wouldn't say I was the most suited to it. It didn't suit my style of play, the old lazy corner forward. I enjoyed it though. It was different, but the pace of it was just crazy. Like, and if the ball didn't stick, you're in trouble. Like as an inside guy, especially. And I suppose that's why Michael Murphy he came on full forward in there in both games, and that's why he was so good in there. The ball would just stick and he'd win his mark. Probably, I really enjoyed it, but I couldn't see myself making a career down there.
Is it just? Do you feel like, I think there's a few people that are saying that the way the rules are changed in the GA with the inside mark and that we're nearly going to be watching an All Ireland in 15-20 years time that is going to be a replica of the international rules series?
Yeah, I'd just be a small bit worried how much they change the rules, and why they're changing them. Like, I don't know, this is my view that some of the rules are nearly brought in to help beat Dublin. Like, and I don't know, is that the right way to approach it either? I think any good team will adapt to the rules, and if they're generally one of the better teams in the country with whatever rule, they're going to be one of the better teams in the country with the next rule that comes in. Look, we'll see how it plays out. I'd like to stop the tinkering with all the rules, to be honest with you. I didn't find too much wrong with it the way it was, and I suppose it's becoming harder for referees to manage, and I think it's going to cause problems at club level.
Definitely,
especially the referees probably won't have the level of experience of dealing with all of this, and especially this year, are going to have to do it in a very quick time frame. So I wish they'd probably slow down the tinkering with the rules a small bit.
Yeah, like there's the whole thing with the black hair. That's one rule that's they're constantly changing, and probably just constantly changing the fine print in it of what you can and can't do in the field. Yeah. But does the game really need changing in terms of the inside marks? And like there was that rule they tried to bring in, I don't know, was it last year or the year before, where you could only have, was it 3 hand passes in a row or something?
Yeah, it's just, and I think is there a sideline you can't kick it backwards? It's like if you, I was watching that 2017 final. Like that was an unbelievable game of football. Like one of the most enjoyable games you'll see. And I think the problem is there's such a gulf between some of the teams in the lower divisions and the top divisions. The lower teams have to resort to blanket defences and playing way more defensive, and the rules aren't going to change that. Yeah. The only thing that's going to change that is that every team is playing at their own level. And I know there's been kind of for and against the All-Ireland series, but if there was an A and a B championship or a second championship, you'd be fully sure that it'd be way more competitive. And like I think there's more benefit out of that. Like that's even why Cork now have changed the structure below that. Like there were some teams in the senior grade that were never going to win it, but now they're in the senior B championship and have probably a good chance of winning that. And all you want to do is play competitive games. That's what it's about.
Yeah, because you can even see it in the way they do it in the LGFA and even the hurling as well. They have their own different divisions and stuff, and it gives even up here, like, you know, the Sligo having one ninth in football in 10 years or so, but the hurlers are winning championships back to back, and even in Leitrim are winning hurling championships and stuff. So it's good it's good for counties to get a bit of silverware and a bit of competitiveness.
Yeah, and luckily I have been on the receiving end of a few humiliating defeats where you get absolutely hammered out the gate. But unfortunately for some counties, when they come up against the top 5 or 6 in the country, they're going to get that year on year out. And like you're seeing games now in Leinster, it's a moral victory to not lose by 10 points, and like there's no fun in that either. Yeah,
it's more of a thing of to see how little we can concede instead of seeing how much we can score.
Whereas if you're playing a team that's at your own level or within some range of your own level, you're going to play it to your strengths then, as opposed to play it to stopping another team from playing.
Exactly. We'll keep going with the team there. I know we kind of went on top of it there for a minute, but sure.
No panic.
No harm. You're 10, 11, 12 there.
Yeah, so this would have been nearly the All-Ireland final, 10, 11, 12. So you'd have Kieran Sheehan from my own club. Gifted footballer, gifted all-rounder, was good hurler, went to play Aussie rules, could have made it at soccer or rugby either, I'd say. Just a really talented guy and good friend of mine. Missed him a lot over the last couple of years when he was Australia, and lucky enough he came back a month before the county final this year, and he got on played quarter hour in the final, made a big contribution, and really good talent, and was a huge loss to Cork at the time when he went away. The next then was Pa Kelly, Pirlo Kelly he calls himself for some reason. Great player, savage balance, great kick passer. His movement was outstanding. Always seemed to have space in the ball, kind of a quarterback at centre forward. We always slag him, he didn't score much though. But yeah, made the Cork kind of forward line tick. And then the other wing then was Paul Kerrigan. I suppose I was saying there's a couple of lads in that team and a couple of lads in the sub. Nearly everything I've won, I've played with all these lads at inter-county level and even in CIT and at minor and 21. So he was one of them. I've been playing with Paul again since I was 16. Crazy professional, absolutely adores the game. Still playing it now when all the other lads his age are gone. Just after a kid and is still going hard and has been incredible for Nemo as well all through the years. Just the pace and killer instinct he has. He's just a serious footballer.
Spot on. And as you said there, like especially Paul Kerrigan, the way he can year in year out, Nemo are always on the one of the last club teams I suppose to finish up in the country. They get that bit further than everyone else. To still be playing, it's unbelievable to still be playing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
after all them years, that much taken on your body, like.
Yeah, absolutely, and like he really minds himself, and it's down to hard work that he's still playing, like, and nothing else.
Spot on. You've said there you've got yourself at number 13, and there's 2 men inside with you.
Yeah, we didn't get enough opportunities, in my humble opinion, to play this full forward line together. So it was myself, Colm O'Neill, and Donica. I don't know, is it because myself and Colm were always seen as being lazy, so they'd only play one of us.
Right.
But like the 2 lads, like Colm is gifted footballer. off both feet, makes everything look so easy. And like what he's gone through with all his injuries, come back from 3 cruciates, like, and injuries still finished him, and he's still playing in goal with his club Ballyclaw. Like, he just a great bit of stuff, great attitude, always positive, and just like an out and out baller.
Yeah.
Another gas ticket, actually. Really good fella. And the other then is Donica, obviously. I always remember I was going for trials with Donica. Donica would have been a bit older than me, and he was like, I'd like to make if I made the panel, I didn't really know Donica at the time we went up from CIT together. If I made the panel, I'd be happy. Like, he'd never played minor and been a sub at 21 with Cork, and I was thinking, geez, this lad, look at him, he's skinny. Next thing I noticed, like, he played the whole National League that year, started the Munster final, and never looked back. Like, just, I think what set Donica apart was his movement. His movement is ridiculous. He's just constantly going, and he's really intelligent in his runs. Really intelligent footballer. Again, can kick off both feet, and was always a man for the big day. Loved the big occasion, and dug us out of a lot of holes. So that was the team I went with.
Spot on. That's your 15 there, and I suppose a few more bits and pieces. In terms of a captain, if you had to pick one for the team.
Yeah, Graham, I suppose. Graham Canty. I suppose Michael Murphy would probably be up there too, if I had more dealings with him. But
yeah,
Graham was a phenomenal captain. Michael Shields, in fairness, used to deputise him. Then he was vice captain, and he was brilliant too. But I think Graham just had that extra bit about him, just let his actions do the talking, and didn't speak a huge amount, but when he did speak, like you listened, and led by example on and off the pitch. So I'll go with Graham.
I think it's something that I've seen in nearly all the teams that lads have done up over the last while. There's a lot of names, a lot of big names in the teams. And then when you say go to name a captain, sometimes the captain jumps out with them straight away, and sometimes it doesn't. But there's so many fellas on the team, leaders in their own certain way,
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think the days are gone of beating down doors and roaring and shouting. It's all about applying yourself, and I suppose the biggest thing for any team is to take the egos out of it and put the team ahead of yourself. And like, that's why Dublin are so good at the moment. That's what they do. They don't tolerate egos, and I think we had that to a certain extent as well. Like Graham would always put the team ahead of himself, and like, even I have a subs bench there as well, and any of the Cork lads and that I played with, they were the same. Like, you could pick a captain out of most of those Cork lads. They were all about the team, and that's half the battle when you're trying to win things.
So Daniel, that's spot on. For anyone who is listening on Spotify, I'll just call out the team for you there again. So Daniel's my 15 there. Alan Quirk in goals, Anthony Lynch, Michael Shields, and Johnny McCarthy in the full back line. Noel O'Leary, Graham Canty, and Paddy Cassan half back line. Michael Murphy and Nicholas Murphy in midfield. Kieran Sheehan, Pat Kelly, and Paul Kerrigan. Daniel Goulding, Colm O'Neill, and Donegal O'Connor. Daniel, thanks a million for joining me.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Here's now. This will be up on Spotify tonight, actually, and then YouTube. Hopefully tonight, YouTube, but definitely tomorrow, anyways. So
perfect.
Yeah, spot on. Thanks a million.
So, man, thanks for that. Take care. Come on.
Cheers. Good luck.
Cheers. Bye bye.